once I shifted from trying to make money to prove my worth, Brian, to just making an impact, I have now found my flow state. I'm doing what I want to do every single day. My business is thriving like never before. My net worth has gone up. So many of us entrepreneurs get in the business thinking, if I make certain money, it's going to bring me happiness and worth. It's just the opposite. Happiness brings you money. If you can heal the things that are hurting you now, your business will take off.
Hey, welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Eat, Sleep, and Invest. I'm your host, Brian Driscoll, and I'm here with my buddy, Brad Chandler. What's up, man?
Hey, I'm excited to be here.
Hey, Brad, just give everyone a little bit of background on your real estate experience. Like, what all you do and all that good stuff.
Yeah, so in ninth grade, I read a book on how to buy real estate with no money down. And I decided I was going to make real estate my career because there was lots of money to be made, and money would bring me happiness and worthiness. So I started a company, and it took me 8 long months to find my first property in 2003. And now we've bought and sold 4,000 houses. That company runs pretty much without me. I spend an hour a week. I don't need to, but I like to check in on a manager's meeting every Thursday. We did 253 flips and wholesales in 2022, and we did 223 last year. And so we're just plugging along, trying to expand. And, so that's what it serves me in order to do what I love. And that's what we're going to talk a lot about today, helping people transform their lives.
Yeah. And so what's interesting is you're doing more deals in 1 hour than most guys do just because you build a business. Like you build a business, put plug the right people in.
Yeah. Systems and people. That's it. It's not easy, but it's also, it's simple. It's not easy.
So you built this business, probably got punched in the face a lot of times during the way. But then at some point you decided, I want to go out and make an impact doing something totally different. Like what happened there?
Yeah, I mean, did I ever get punched in the face, Brian? Holy moly. I made 5 business mistakes over the first 17 years of business that cost me and my partner $9 million. And as I look back on those now, all of those mistakes were from me trying to think that money was going to bring me happiness and worthiness. So let's go back to 3 years ago. I'm trying to get my son help for his anxiety. And I was on a Zoom call with a performance coach. And she's like, you have a tic. I was like, what are you talking about? She's like, when you talk about your childhood, you blink profusely. You may have some childhood trauma that's actually affecting your son. And I'm like, I don't have any trauma. My childhood wasn't great, but it wasn't that bad. And I'm not going to be affecting my son. I've been a single dad for years with him. I do everything for him. There's no way. But sure, I'll go out and do your thing that you're suggesting because I'll do anything to help my son. And over the course of this weekend, Brian, really a 3-hour session laying on this bed in an Airbnb outside of Park City, Utah, my life forever changed. I mean, changed so profoundly that I got home and I was like, I looked around at all the people I know that were struggling and suffering like I was. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is the same exact thing. They're all suffering with the same thing. And what is that same thing? It's a thinking problem. Change your thinking, change your life. And you've heard that, I'm sure. But so few people know how to do it and how to teach how to do it. So I was able to learn how to do it, profoundly changed my life. And now I understand how to teach other people how to do it. And that's what I'm doing.
That's a big impact too, because you're talking about, especially a lot of people listen here too, we're all real estate investors. So it's like, we're going from hustle, bustle, make money, because there's always, there's a carrot at the end. And then sometimes you get to the carrot, you're like, is that it? Yeah, it's like not very fulfilling.
I mean, doesn't it happen all the time? When I make $1 million, when I have $1 million net worth, I'll be happy. When I pay off my house, I'll be happy. When I can have a wife that's this pretty, I'm going to be happy. No, nothing outside of yourself can ever bring you happiness. Everything you've ever needed to be happy, you have right now. And when you stop trying to chase external things, thinking that they're going to bring you happiness and worth, that's when your life changes in a profound way.
Now, talk about that a little bit. So basically, it's what you have in your head is what's determining your outlook.
Yeah, but here's the thing, is your behavior on a daily basis is controlled by 95% from your subconscious thinking. So you have learned behavior. Learned emotional behavior is when something happened in your childhood, typically something around emotion where your needs weren't being met. You have to come up with a meaning. You've got to make sense of it. Why is this bad thing happening to me? Because if you can make sense of it, it's usually this bad thing is happening to me, Brian, because I'm bad. That gives you control. If you look at your parents or your caregivers and say, oh my gosh, it's them, it's not my fault, then do you have any control over the situation?
No.
None. So what we often do almost always is we blame it on ourselves. If our parents aren't around, if they fight a lot, if they got divorced, whatever it is, this is our problem. This is our fault. My dad used to hit me with a belt. He used to make fun of me. Well, my dad, was like my idol, right? As a young kid. So I must deserve this. I must be bad. Those actually help you as a child, give you hope for a better tomorrow, give you control. But as a 47-year-old who goes and buys a 42-foot boat and tries to sail it to the Bahamas, it doesn't serve you. And it doesn't serve you, to use weed and alcohol like I did and have failed marriages. So that's it. It's these deeply held emotional beliefs that are buried in our subconscious mind that drive our behavior that most people don't even know is influencing their behavior in a negative way.
So now I'm guessing basically everybody probably has something that's happened to them that's buried. From what, because you work with a lot of people. Is that what you see? Like everyone's usually got something, or is that not the case?
I have met one person out of talking to literally probably close to 1,000 now that I couldn't find anything, but his behavior led me to believe there was something there that I just couldn't uncover. So yes, 95 of the 100 clients that I've served thus far came to me and was like, Brad, my childhood was fine. Like, I don't understand why I drink so much. I don't understand why I have social anxiety. And I'm like, there's no way you would be coming to me if all of your needs were met. And this is no indictment on the person's parents. Their parents did the absolute best they could do given with what they grew up with too. So short answer is yes, Brian. There are very few people in this world that don't have these underlying limiting beliefs that are driving their behavior. I mean, look, ask yourself right now, do I suffer with anxiety, depression? Do I have a bad marriage? Am I not in a marriage? Am I not in a relationship? Do I drink too much, eat too much? Am I overweight? Any of those things are clear telltale signs that you have these underlying things. And this is why I built this 3-minute, 12-question self-love quiz. Because if I was listening to this podcast 5 years ago, I'd be like, no, dude, I got it. I love myself. I've got high self-esteem. I don't give a shit what other people think. But it was all just a lie. It was this mask I was wearing to protect myself. So if you go to bradchandler.com/quiz, take 3 minutes out of your life, your relationships, your health, your business, your prosperity, everything can change for you.
And let's talk about that a little bit too, like the mental state. So in today's world, it's becoming a little bit more acceptable to talk about mental health, but I don't really think it's a lot of times acceptable, especially in men, just because like how we're brought up. It's like, dude, no, I'm good. I don't need, we're fine. You know what I mean? Just like you're talking about. So what would you say there? Because I do think that's a big problem. Like people just are brought up. It's just not a comfortable thing to even address, let alone take steps on.
Yeah, I love it. It's a great question. I mean, if you're manly, you don't talk about your feelings, If
you push your shit down. That's what you do. You push it down and forget about it.
Push that shit down, or you do what I do and you turn it on your ex-wife and you make it their problem, and then you run and you're cold and distant to them for 3 days. That's how my relationships used to work, because I didn't know that I had these limiting beliefs of you're not enough and you're not worthy driving my behavior. So yeah, I think it is a problem. I think there's also a problem around, because who hasn't gone to therapy? I went to 3 decades of therapy and probably 50 to 75 marriage counseling sessions. And I got nowhere compared to the 3 hours that I got in that Airbnb bedroom in Park City. Because what most therapy wants to talk about is symptoms in the conscious mind. So, okay, you drink. What causes you to drink? When you go by the liquor store, let's have you take a different route home. If you're anxious, let's teach you some breathing techniques. If you want to permanently change a mental state, Brian, you've got to get to the core. How did this thing start? Because no one was born with lack of self-love. No one was born with an addiction or an eating problem or depression or anxiety. Something happened to you, and it's not your fault, but something happened to you that's driving the behavior that you want to change now. And so instead of sitting, on a couch for every Tuesday morning at 11:30 for 30 years, people are like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to spend all that time. What I teach is you go to the source of the pain. And literally in 3 to 5 hours, my clients see this massive transformation. So I think if more people knew that, I didn't know that. I thought I'm just going to keep going to therapy maybe the rest of my life. And maybe I'll find a good therapist that will one day help me.
Yeah. And I kind of look at it too, like this, say back to real estate. It's like everyone wants to get into real estate. They overthink it. It's this big, sexy thing. But then once you figure it out, it's like, that wasn't that hard. But you had to just be aware of it. It's like same thing here. It's like everyone keeps thinking, oh yeah, I got to change all this stuff. And don't go by the liquor store. But then if you're working with the right people, they can help you uncover, okay, maybe it's not as hard of a thing. It's still a hard thing you got to address, but you can have a roadmap there and make it easier.
Yeah, there's a quote we share with our clients in one of the sessions, and it says, "You think it's impossible until it's done." And I ask that of my clients in the fifth and final session a lot of times. Did you think this was possible when you started? And a lot of them would be like, no, I did it because I had hope, but I didn't think I could get to this place so quickly. And you're right. Once you do it and you're like, oh my God, like I had a lady tell me, a client tell me yesterday, I go, what would you pay for this program knowing what you know now? She's like, I don't know what I would say there, but I can tell you right now that I would stroke a check for $100,000 to not go back to the way that I was.
It's pretty big.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're talking changing life. It's like because I figure everyone sees the world, they're in their own reality. It's like everyone sees what they see. So if you can change that in a positive way and figure out what's some of the negative things or whatever, like it's huge.
Yes, because Brian, you see the world through the eyes of the meanings that you placed on events when your brain was forming. Let's take an example. If I tell my mom I hate her as a kid because she didn't give me a cookie at 6 years old, and she goes into a crying fit, and then I get home and my dad spanks me over it, what is my meaning of the world? I can't be myself. I can't share my true emotions because if so, I won't be loved. That's how I see the whole world. So now when I get in a relationship, if I ever do because I don't want to get hurt, I'm going to always be looking out for, well, I can't really say what I feel because they might leave me. That's how I see the world. So you go through a program like mine and you realize that that was your mom's issue. Your mom had emotional unintelligence and she didn't know, but it wasn't her fault because that's how she was raised and that's how her mom was raised and her mom. This is how it works. But when you have the awareness and the insight that, oh my gosh, for all of these years, when I opened my door, I saw cloudy skies, but there was blue sky all along. But I had to protect myself thinking there were clouds out there. That's what we do. We're ultimately always trying to just protect ourselves. And that protection almost always brings negative consequences.
And that protection's built in, right? Like in our human behavior. It's like if you do something that you get pain, your body automatically creates the protection.
Yeah, it wants to go from pain to pleasure. Absolutely. You're always constantly trying to go from pain to pleasure. So you get in any situation that reminds you. So when you argue with your wife, I'm sure you never do, Brian, but if you were to argue with your wife, the argument never, ever has to do with the actual argument or the situation. It's you going back to when you were 6 or 7 and her going back, you pulling in these meanings of what it meant that back then. That's it. And when you realize that, like, oh my gosh, just see an event for as it is. You don't need to place meaning on an event. Just see the event for the way it is.
Yeah, and that's true too. Like even looking like with me and my wife, things like that, like we're coming from two totally different places. And if the communication's not there, you're right. I'm bringing whatever is in my head. What's in my head is totally different than what's in her head based on our past. It's like, but nobody could know that.
No one could know that until you do the work, Brian. And let's go back to that example that I used. So maybe you told your mom you hated her. And so now you shut down. How can you communicate? Because when you go to communicate, what does your brain say? Your brain says, oh my gosh, if I say what I'm going to say, I might lose attachment from my mom. And if I lose attachment from my mom, I die. It's life or death. Without your mom feeding you, you're going to die, right? So I believe a lot of our struggles as adults is that our brain goes back to that childlike state and they think, oh my God, I might die. If I open up my heart and tell my wife what I really feel, literally, I might die. So what do? Like you said, we shut down, we stuff it down, or we go to the bar, or we hit the weed pipe, or we go look at porn or social media or work, whatever it is, to get away from that. Oh my God, I can't go there because if I go there, I'm going to lose attachment. And lost attachment means I could be dead.
Yep. And that's true. It's not like it's just, like me and you've talked before. Like me, I was always on a thing that's like, you know what? I'm just not talking. Let's just push this shit down. Don't even worry about it. You know, and that's not healthy there because then nothing ever gets resolved. But everyone's got their thing. It's like maybe someone goes smokes weed. Maybe someone drinks. Like everyone's got their stuff, you know?
They do until they decide that they've had enough of their stuff. And that stuff usually brings negative consequences. Sure.
Yep. Yeah. So going face on at it. Now, what do you tell people, say people like I was brought up, like you don't talk about your feelings. I know there's a lot of people out there like that. Like, so say someone's dealing with whatever, marriage, whatever out there, but they're also one of the people, it's like, hey, we don't talk about this stuff. What do you tell them? Because that's a hard thing, because people are alone by themselves. So it's not like you're talking with them in person, talking it through. People are sitting there beating up on themselves solo in their house half the time. You know what I mean?
So I'm holding up a book right now. For those you can see me, it's called The Way of Miracles, Mark Mincola. And he's a recent guest on my podcast. I have this podcast called How to Be Happier for Entrepreneurs that just became ranked in the top 3%. So I'm pretty proud of that. And there's a lot of amazing stuff in this book. But one of the things he says is the opposite of self-love, which you'll find if you take that quiz, what your level is. The opposite is self-contempt. Self-contempt leads to dis-ease, meaning that your body is out of ease. Dis-ease then leads to disease. So for the folks that say, we don't talk about our emotions, the universe is perfect. The universe is going to either, you're going to figure it out or the universe is going to figure it out. And this book and another book that I have in my hand called The Myth of Normal, a 500-page book, is all about how unresolved childhood traumas and stress create health issues in our life. So if you want to go about your life and just say, you know what, it's really, really painful when my wife comes to talk to me about things, and so I'm just going to continue to shut down. When you depress enough of the emotions, what does that lead to? Depress leads to depression. So sooner or later, the universe is going to do its thing. It's going to give you something. It's going to give you a disease or an autoimmune disease that's going to force you to deal with it. So you either deal with it or the universe. There's 150 autoimmune diseases in the world right now. And this guy, Mark Mincola, he's a PhD who has helped literally 60,000 patients, clients in the last 40 years. He says that so much of autoimmune is due to the stress and the unprocessed emotions that you're talking about people push down, Brian.
Yeah, and that makes sense too, because even like you get stressed out, you push stuff down, then you don't sleep. You don't sleep, your body can't heal. And it's like a whole spiraling effect.
Yes. Racing mind. Can't sleep. Yeah, it's bad.
Say we're talking to that person that's at home. They're dealing with it on their own. I know normally if you're in a state where you're having problems like that, everything's overwhelming. What's the easy button? Like they reach out to you, or like what do you recommend there? Because I think a lot of people just they're like, I can't do that. I got to do this and I got to do this and I got to do this. And then they never start.
Yeah. Look, I think the first thing is go take the self-love quiz on my website at bradchandler.com so you can just have an awareness. If you come back with extreme self-love, I bet your life is amazing on all levels. If you're struggling, though, in any area of your life, I'd be willing to bet you dinner that you're going to come back with mild self-love, or lack of self-love. If you have one of those two things, don't think, oh, woe is me. Think, oh my gosh, my life can become so much better. So all change has to become with awareness. So if you take the quiz and you realize that you have lack of self-love or mild self-love, it's not your fault. But at least now you have an awareness. So then what we do is we go into the 3 R's. I believe that to permanently change a mental state, you have to address these 3 R's. And I think these 3 R's are missing from 95% of all healing in terms of psychology and psychiatry and therapy and marriage counseling and life coaching. The first one is the recognition. You've got to recognize, you've got to be aware of what's driving the behavior that you want to change. Because almost every one of my clients has no idea. I don't know why I'm drinking so much. I don't know why I don't sleep. I don't know why I have a racing mind. I don't know why I work so much despite having enough money. So you've got to become aware. That's the first R, recognize. Second is now that you're aware of it, you recode it through neuroplasticity, where I just make you a recording, and for 30, 60 days, you just listen to this recording as you're going to sleep in an alpha wave brain state. That's when your brain is most open to suggestion. And then finally, the final R is you get to rewrite your life the way that you want it to be and that you deserve it to be. So it doesn't have to be overwhelming. Take the quiz, see where you stand. And if you are at any age and you look in the mirror and you say you just thought that things would be different by now, they can be different now. I'm living testament to it. I have 100 clients who are living testament to it. My mentors have thousands and thousands of clients who have gone to therapy for decades. And literally in 3 to 5 hours, their life has changed, profoundly.
Yeah, and this is real stuff. Anyone listening, this is real things here too. So it's like everyone's got their shit, it just depends on how you deal with them.
Here's the thing, once I shifted from trying to make money to prove my worth, Brian, to just making an impact, I have now found my flow state. I'm doing what I want to do every single day. My business is thriving like never before. My net worth has gone up. So many of us entrepreneurs get in the business thinking, if I make certain money, it's going to bring me happiness and worth. It's just the opposite. Happiness brings you money. So if you can heal the things that are hurting you now, your business will take off. Brent Bowers, do you know Brent Bowers?
Yeah.
So Brent Bowers is in another mastermind that you and I are in. And he said on a recent podcast of mine, he came to me with, and by the way, I only share this if he gives me permission. He said all of this stuff in a podcast, is that he came to me with overwhelm and erasing mind. And once he did the work and he uncovered these limiting beliefs, everything in his life has changed. His marriage has gotten better. He had a child with behavioral problems that's gotten way better. His relationship with his kids has gotten better. He's working less. And he says, I really struggled signing up with you because of the cost, because I'm an ROI guy. I was like, how am I going to make this money back? He goes, Brad, do you know that in the 6 months I began working with you, my income has doubled? So if your business is boom and bust and you think you need to go to another mastermind or a business conference or improve your business schools, you're kidding yourself. Your business is boom or bust, just like mine was for 17 years because of the thoughts I had. I always had to be chasing the next shiny thing because, oh my gosh, if I could go open Virginia Beach and make $1 million, I'm going to be worthy. But it's never, ever enough. When you don't feel enough, you just keep going and going and going. So if you do the work, it's likely that your business will take off.
And you're doing your kids a solid, you're doing your wife a solid, you're doing your parents a solid. Like overall, you can only deal with what you can deal with. It's like you deal with your stuff and let everyone else do their own shit.
Yeah, if you have kids with behavioral problems, anxiety, depression, those aren't really behavioral problems, or they act up in school, or they've got shitty grades, or they're always like triggering you, and you want to know the cause of it, just grab your spouse, grab him or her by the hand, and walk into the bathroom and look in the mirror. That's the cause of it. Notice I didn't say it's your fault, because it's not your fault. You're just doing the best you can. But if your child has anxiety or depression or OCD or anything acting up at school, you're likely the cause of it. So by healing yourself and learning how to love yourself unconditionally, you get to give your kids the greatest gift that you can ever give them. And that is to break the multi-generational curse. And how do you do that? You teach them how to love themselves unconditionally. My question to you is, how could you ever teach them to love themselves unconditionally if you don't love yourself unconditionally? Again, I thought I loved myself unconditionally, but I didn't. So take the quiz and figure it out. And this might, just like you said, Brian, it might unlock better relationships with your spouse, your kids, your employees, your health gets better, your finances get better. It's complete. It doesn't just affect one area of your life. It affects all areas of your life.
Now, hey, Brad, so anyone who wants help with this, what do you offer now? Is it one-on-one or is it group, or what do you do?
It's actually a combination. So my partner, Yvonne, and I both take on folks one-to-one over a 5-week period, meeting once a week. But we also have this really dynamic group mastermind program that's part of it that meets once a week as well. So it's a hybrid.
Okay, cool. Who would be the right fit? I guess everyone's the right fit, but like explain like who the proper avatar is. It's like, okay, this is somebody that we can really help.
Yeah, let me clarify something. In the group coaching, like we don't force you to, if you've got depression or a drinking problem, it's not like we put you in front of the group and say, hey, tell us about your problems. It's more of an opportunity to learn and share successes or any struggles that you're having. Who is the ideal candidate for this? It's hard. And I've had mentors and coaches that have been like, Brad, you really got to narrow. You got to narrow down. And I'm like, it's so hard because we can help so many people. If you are not where you expected to be in your life by now, if you are struggling or suffering with relationships, with eating, with drinking, with a business that is up and down, or find yourself getting angry, or you're in a triggered state a lot, any of those things are indication that you have these subconscious beliefs that are driving your behavior, and we can help you.
Okay, cool. So Brad, give them the link again for the test.
Yeah, so the quiz, the 3-minute quiz is bradchandler.com/quiz, and it'll give you immediate results. And that can be the first step on a journey that someone's going to listen to this podcast and their life will be forever changed. And hopefully it's you.
Yeah, I like it. Maybe more than one person, right?
Yeah, hopefully.
Your podcast, how do they find it? What's it called? Where do they find it?
Yeah, it's on all the major platforms. So if you're an iTunes people, just go to iTunes and search How to Be Happier for Entrepreneurs, Spotify, How to Be Happier for Entrepreneurs. It's on Amazon Music. It's on all of them. And cool. We've got probably about 60 episodes, and we bring on different healers, and we bring on people who have gone through transformations, and there's just some really, really great stuff. So if you like this type of stuff and you're like, I'm ready to change my life, but I'm just not quite ready to call Brad for some reason or reach out for a call, listen to some of the podcast episodes, because I think you'll find them really, really insightful.
Nice. Is there anything we missed that we wanted to talk about?
Wow, you asked some amazing questions. So I think just kind of put everything into a bow is that life wasn't made for you to struggle, despite what your parents might have told you, or despite the struggles that you've gone through. Here's the life that I've crafted for myself, and here's the life that you can craft for yourself. I wake up every day and I do exactly what I love to do. And that's help people transform their lives and find freedom and happiness that they deserve. I spend so little of my time in a triggered state. Wasn't always that way. I don't smoke weed anymore. I have an occasional drink. My relationship with Yvonne, she's also my life partner, is amazing beyond anything that I've ever had before. And I just want you to know that if you're suffering or struggling with it, pretty much anything, there's an answer, there's a reason, and it's not your fault. And there is a proven model that I've seen work thousands and thousands of times. It worked with me. It's worked with 100 of my clients. It's worked with thousands of my mentors' clients. So just have the boldness, have the confidence, have the hope to know that your life can change for the better, but it can never change if you don't take that first step. So just be bold, take that first step, explore it. If you can't find it in your heart to do it for yourself and you have children in this world, your children didn't ask to be brought into this world. You brought them into this world. And I feel like you owe it to them to break this multi-generational curse that you're in. And if I can help you, look, if you come to me, great. If you don't, it's fine too. It's not going to affect or change my life. But I just want to give this message. I want you to know that there is a better way. There's a different way to do things that can change your life. And you deserve to live this amazing, happy life connected with individuals who you love and you trust and you can't wait to get home to and give a kiss and hug and talk and share your open heart with.
That's good stuff. So the first step's really easy. We're going to put the link in the show notes. Go take the 3-minute quiz. Check it out and see what happens, right?
Yeah.
All right, Brad. Hey, thanks for coming on, man. We appreciate you.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
All right, everyone. Hey, thanks for listening. Until next time, get out there, crush it, close some deals. We'll see you guys.